Welcome to the first video of week 7, HSK 2. And in this section of the video, we're going to talk about the aspect particle 着. And so this is a particle that's attached to verbs. So directly on the verb, it's verb and 着. And it's a way of talking about, it denotes the continuous state of whatever we're talking about. It tends to be used with verbs that are not like action, like big action verbs, but more about the state of, it's like a continuous state. So for example, here's one example from All Set Learning. 我读, 你听着. 我读, I read, 你听着, and you listen. So I'm going to read and you be in the state of listening. This it's common actually to be attached to commands. It tends to be like, have the idea of you do and continue to do. For example, like if I hand you something, I could say 你拿着, 你拿着. It means you take it and keep it, as opposed to take it and then give it back. So 着, here it's talking about 听着, to be in the state of listening. 我读, 你听着. Here we have, it can be thrown in with one verb, like a secondary verb, and describing how another verb is being done, or what state the subject is in as the subject does another action verb. And here's an example of that. 我坐着洗碗. Okay, what does 洗碗 mean? That means to wash dishes. 碗 means bowl, so 洗碗 can mean to wash, all the dishes. 洗碗, wash dishes. So 坐着, 坐 means to sit. So 我坐着洗碗, I am sitting as I'm doing the dishes. Is that the way I'm sitting? I'm washing dishes while sitting? Maybe? I'm trying to think of the best way to say this in English. So I'm sitting as I'm washing dishes, or I'm washing dishes in a seated state, something like that. So this is the action verb, and this is the verb describing. It's kind of like it's explaining what is the state that the subject is in as the subject does this action. Does that make sense? So it's not the same as saying these two things are happening simultaneously. It's more about describing how the main action is happening. And then here we have another example. Now this is a kind of a little bit different, and I'm trying to see if I can describe this. Let me translate it first, and then I'll see if I can kind of describe why it's a little different. T恤上, 'T 恤, that means t-shirt. Isn't that handy? 'T 恤上, on the t-shirt. So this is a place. This is a place. 'T 恤上. 写着 is written. 两个字, two characters. So 'T 恤上, on the t-shirt, 写着 is 两个字. And the reason I say it's a little bit different is because you might think that you would say 两个字. Actually, you know what? There's another video in HSK 3 that actually goes over this very thing that I'm realizing this is like actually a location phrase, where here we have a location answering the question, kind of like what is on the shirt. So here's like the shirt, 写着两个字. So this is just another way to say a location phrase with a little extra information, saying that it's written as opposed to ironed on, or no, that doesn't work because it could have been ironed on. It's still written. Anyway, that is a way we can use 着 to talk about location attached to a certain verb. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about what's the difference between 正在 or 在. You might remember 在 or 正在 means an action is currently happening. What's the difference? The difference is this. 在 or 正在, before it comes before the verb, is more answering the question, what is the subject doing right now? Where putting 着 on the verb is more about describing the continuous state of the subject as opposed to continuous action. So what is the continuous state of the subject right now? Or describe the situation, what's happening as the main thing happens. The 在 is usually used with action verbs. 这 is usually used with verbs talking about continuous states like sitting, being open or closed, watching, listening, that kind of thing. Things that can be done for a while, not something that is just boom, done and over with. Let me give you an example of this. This is a great example here written on this little board. This is talking about a door opening, all right, or being opened. If I say 我正在开门, 开门 means to open door, right? 我正在开门, that means I am in the action of opening the door. I am opening the door. 我正在开门. If I say 门开着, what am I saying there? Any guesses? 门, the door, 门开着. 开 now is the verb or I guess it's a verb, yeah. 门开着. Just like here it's a verb too. 门开着, it's the door is open. It's in the state of open. Then that's saying that the door is open. This is saying I'm opening the door. Now I want to point out that this distinction between a continuous state versus a continuous action, 在 or 正在 means continuous state or continuous action. 这 means continuous state. That distinction, while it's real, is a little fuzzy and there's some overlap. And in fact, sometimes, I have an example of this here, sometimes they can actually be used in the same sentence describing the same thing. Here we have an example of from All Set Learning where you see that. It says, 我正吃着饭呢. So here we have 吃着饭, eating food. I am currently eating food. No. So we actually have three things. We haven't taught this no, I don't think. But we have three things indicating that it's in a state of or currently happening. We have 正 before the verb. We have 这 after the verb. We have 呢 at the end of the sentence. All saying this thing is continuing to roll out, like I am currently eating. And so it's just kind of like a very full, a very robust, I guess, way to say that and adding lots of pieces in there to kind of say the same thing. So they can go together at times, but it is important to understand the distinction between them as well. So there you have it. There's the aspect particle 这. In this segment, we're going to talk about using 把 to concede. And we've talked about 把 before in HSK 1. And it's an end of phrase particle that is used to soften speech in general or commands in particular to make them a little bit nicer sounding, a little bit more casual, rather than harsh and you must do this. So it tends to soften speech, but it has another thing. It's used to, and it's related, you can kind of make the connection. It's used to concede. What I mean by that is you use it when someone tells you something that was different from your first option or the first thing, or the thing that you wanted to do. And you say, oh, okay, that'll work too. Or I guess that'll work. So let me give you a couple of examples. These are both from All Set Learning. And there's like an A and B, so we can understand like the person A and then the response. Okay, so you can kind of understand the background, the context. So one person says they're out shopping and they're looking at an article of clothing, say, and the first person says 太贵了, it's too expensive, and then the other person says 好吧, okay, 吧, 我们可以看看别的. We can, I had to add this, I forgot it. 我们可以, we can, 看看, have a look, 别的, at others, at other stuff. So that's too expensive. Oh, okay. All right. We can have a look at something else. We can look at something else. Does that make sense? So it's like the person might have been thinking, oh, maybe I'll get this, but the other sentence is too贵了. too贵了. 太贵了. It's too expensive. We can look at something else. 好吧. So it's kind of like backing off. It's not a strong thing. It's not like necessarily saying like, oh, I guess that'll work. Fine. It doesn't necessarily have that attitude. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, all right. And then here's another example. The first person says, 下午我不在家. 下午 means afternoon. What do you think? What does this mean then? 下午我不在家. 我不在家 means I'm not home. So I'm not going to be home in the afternoon. 你可以晚上来吗? Can you come in the evening? 你可以晚上来吗? And the answer is 行吧. 行 means can do. That'll work. 行吧. Okay, wasn't my first choice. It wasn't what I suggested, but that's when you're home. 行吧. I'll concede to that. That's fine. And so there we have it. There's a ba to be used to concede when something's not your first option or the thing that you suggested, but someone suggested something else, and you basically say 好吧,行吧,可以吧, that kind of thing. So that's the end of week 7, day 1, I believe. Let's check. Day 1. There we go. Thanks.